We have analyzed your defensive capabilities as being unable to withstand us. If you defend yourselves, you will be punished.
First and foremost, I want to give a big thank you to my newest patron supporter, the Anti-Trekker. Thanks for your support, I guess. I mean, if you're the Anti-Trekker, why are you support? I don't know, whatever. Also, I want to address a concern brought up by one of my patron supporters. That is my use of the term "F*** you, Jerry Taylor." He wrote,
"I'm a little concerned about the "F*** you, Jerry Taylor" parts of your recent videos. It's one thing to say that about a young idiot like Rian Johnson, but Jerry Taylor is a 79-year-old woman. Maybe that doesn't matter. She's certainly guilty of a lot of bad writing and creating both Janeways, but I don't know.
Well, let me just say this. Jerry Taylor may well be a 79-year-old woman, and I'm sure that she is a perfectly nice person in real life. That being said, I am not reviewing her as a person, just like I did not talk about Rian Johnson's personal life when I did my review of The Last Jedi. I am analyzing her work as a writer on Star Trek, and specifically the concepts conceived by her in Descent. Just as it would be wrong for me to judge her work more harshly because she's a woman or elderly, it would also be morally wrong for me to give her a pass due to her gender or age. I do understand why it may leave a bad taste in your mouth to hear such harsh criticism of what you imagine is probably a sweet little old lady. But her status as a sweet little old lady does not excuse the bad story that is Descent. I do recognize, however, that I tend to use the "f*** you" bit a bit much, and I will try to reserve it for when the term is truly justified. While I may not do it as much as I did in the past, this has nothing to do with her status as a woman. Rather, just an attempt to not fall into a rut of being the guy on YouTube that says "f*** you" to the creators of Star Trek or Star Wars. Part of my overuse of the term in the first couple of parts of this review is probably because I got worked up into a frenzy over all the Rian Johnson stuff. But if you go back and watch my review of The Last Jedi, you may notice that at first I didn't use the term, and then it kind of crept in every once in a while, and by the end I was using it a lot because of the sheer incompetence of the writing of that film. The term is not going away, but I'm going to try to build to it rather than just toss it around casually. Speaking of not using important things casually, the New Berlin colony sends out a distress call due to a Borg attack. Then the call's immediately canceled because apparently it was just a Ferengi ship that showed up and some idiot thought it was a Borg. Okay. As if that's not bad enough, Riker mentions that this is the third time this has happened today. Picard's log entry says that they've been on patrol for 16 hours. Okay, well, I guess that scene was just kind of padding. We move along to Picard in his ready room, watching a copy of I, Borg, when Riker comes in. Picard questions if he made a mistake by letting Hugh go. And we get what passes for, drama.
But it was the moral thing to do. Well, it may turn out that the moral thing to do was not the right thing to do.
Wait, what? Look, I know that this is not a channel about ethics or philosophy, but by definition, the moral thing to do is the right thing to do. Period. Look, I know I'm nitpicking a little bit here, but please, while I disagree with Picard that it was immoral to kill the Borg in self-defense, if he truly believes that it was the moral thing to do, he should not be questioning that choice. If he was thinking about the relative morality of protecting the Federation versus killing the Borg, I would be okay with that. But he's not questioning if it was the moral thing to do, only that if it is right. And this is just the writer trying to have it both ways. This is not on Jerry Taylor, by the way. This is on the screenwriter, Ronald D. Moore, which makes it even more disappointing because he deals with moral questions like this far better on shows like Battlestar Galactica later on in his career. But whatever. Meanwhile, on the holodeck, Geordi comes in to ask Data for help while Data is trying to recreate the situation that took place on the planet to see if he can induce an emotional response with no luck. Data concludes that he must turn off the safeties in order to really test the situation, since he knows that he's not in any real danger like he was on the planet, which I agree, that's logical. And then we get this.
Increase Borg strength by 30%.
Unable to comply. A 30% increase would exceed safety limits.
Geordi, the computer requires a voice authorization of 2 senior officers in order to disable the safety routine.
Okay, why is this important? Well, honestly, it isn't, but it will be in a few weeks. Trust me. Data and Geordi do not finish their conversation as they are interrupted by a red alert. It feels like the last 3 scenes were completely unnecessary. Well, that's because they were completely unnecessary. This is what they refer to in the business as filler. They needed a couple of more minutes of runtime in the episode, so we get the false alarm, Picard's moral dilemma, and Data trying to test the holodeck. If you had cut the last 3 scenes out of the episode completely, it would have made 0 impact. So yeah, Quantum. The Borg ship is at long range, and the Enterprise is in pursuit. So Picard orders to go to warp and catch the Borg ship. Picard orders all emergency power to the impulse engines? Huh? Okay, sure, why not? Well, surprise, surprise, the impulse engines are not quite fast enough, and the Borg get into their transwarp conduit. But since the Enterprise was catching up, it gets pulled into the conduit as well. The Enterprise goes through the conduit and emerges where the Borg ship is. The Borg comes about, fires on the Enterprise, and simultaneously beams 2 Borg to the bridge of the Enterprise. But since the Borg are fast now, they dodge the first shot of phaser fire, and... Wait a minute. That Borg standing in the back, is that? It is. That's Grandpa Borg. He's alive. Oh man, I thought Grandpa Borg was dead, but cool. He is back, and Grandpa Borg is dead again. And now this guy's dead. But I'm gonna miss Grandpa Borg. Well, this whole thing was a diversion, as while Grandpa Borg, oh man, poor Grandpa Borg sacrificed himself for the cause of the Borg, and the ship escaped. And the other Borg is still alive. Woohoo! Well, Dr. Crusher gives the surviving Borg a happy shot so they can talk to him. And he says his name is Croesus, and he knows lots of ways to kill, and that he got his name from the One. And that's about it. Picard asks if the One is Hugh, but Croesus just recites how to kill various species. So Picard orders Dr. Crusher to do an autopsy on the other Borg to see what, if anything, has changed about them, and tells Data to determine if Croesus is trying to contact the collective. So, as soon as everyone else leaves the room, Croesus starts talking to Data and uses his super secret Borg decoder ring to give Data another emotional feeling. Croesus then starts manipulating Data while talking about feelings, which works because Quantum. Croesus even goes so far as to ask Data if he'd be willing to kill Geordi if that would allow him to keep feeling emotions. And of course, Data says yes, I guess. So they steal a shuttle and use the shuttle to open up the transwarp conduit and escape. Okay, I am sorry, but what the f***? Look, can we talk about Croesus's plan here? He beams onto the ship with one other Borg in the hopes that he is not killed, and then that he gets shown to Data where he can get some time alone with Data so he can seduce him with his spray-on emotion thing. And I will even let go the fact that Data should have immediately known what was going on, since Croesus did not even try to hide his action to turn on the emotion broadcast thing. And Data further should have realized in the moment, the instant he started having an emotion, that it was obviously due to manipulation from Croesus. Further, even if Data was caught up in the moment of having emotions, there's a difference between having a feeling, even a strong feeling, and being willing to murder your best friend in cold blood. Okay, now as stupid as this whole plan is, he does all this right in front of a security guard who does nothing to stop them. Yes, we find out later that the guard was overpowered by Data, but he did not, I don't know, hit the alarm button or something when Croesus was standing right in front of him and talking to Data about killing the chief engineer? This is not a red flag? Really? First, why not just shoot the scene without putting the security guard in the room with them? That would take care of that problem. And second, what's the point of this roundabout plan? Look, the Borg ship could completely overpower the Enterprise, just disable the Enterprise, and then beam Data onto their ship. Then start feeding Data the emotions, and they destroy the Enterprise, and bam, problem solved. And as royally stupid as all that, that's not even the worst part. The Enterprise follows the shuttle through the transwarp conduit and tracks its location to a planet. Problem is that there's interference preventing them from scanning the surface of the planet. So while the transporters will work, they could not tell if there's any Borg around. Riker and Picard are in agreement that they have to try. So Picard tells Riker to get a well-armed away team together to beam down. So apparently well-armed means standard hand phasers like they always take? Really? No rifles? I mean, we are dealing with Borg here. Maybe they just don't have any rifles. Whatever. Well, Riker finds no sign of Data or Croesus, and based on the engine being off for about 3 hours, they figured they must be within about 15 to 20 kilometers. So far, makes sense. Picard orders Riker to use the location of the shuttle as a command post. Okay, sure, why not? Then Picard orders the shuttles to search for Data. Okay, fine, that makes sense. Granted, Riker, being the best pilot, should have just hopped into a shuttle that was right there and start searching himself, but fine, whatever. Then, Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the Enterprise, brilliant commanding officer, expert diplomat, tactician, and all-around smart guy.
I want to use the shuttlecraft for low-level reconnaissance. Have the designated pilots assemble in main shuttle bay.
Aye, sir.
And all available personnel, including you and me, will begin to put together 4-man away teams. I'll leave a skeleton crew on board the ship.
Well, at least it couldn't get any worse.
Who'll be in command of the Enterprise?
Any last orders?
If the Borg should.
So, Captain Picard just ordered not just every senior officer, but every qualified officer to run the ship to beam down and then put Dr. Crusher in charge of the Enterprise? What? Huh? I mean, was Ronald D. Moore trying to get fired? Was this episode made on a dare or something? What is going on here? This makes zero logical sense. If only we had some kind of example for what to do in a situation like, oh yeah, we do. In the original series episode titled The Galileo 7, a small group headed up by Mr. Spock was stuck on a planet after their shuttle crashed. And on a side note, this is what an engineer looks like. Working with tools, getting his hands dirty, trying to fix things, not telling the computer to tell him what's wrong. Anyway, due to interference, they could not use the ship's sensors to pinpoint Spock's away team, and they had very little time. Kirk summed up his resolve very quickly.
What do you intend to do? I intend to continue the search, foot by foot, inch by candlelight if necessary, until the last possible moment.
Kirk was determined to find his missing people. And it's not just one crew member that he happened to be fond of, but his 3 closest friends, plus a handful of crewmen. He sent down every available person by transporter. He searched the planet with shuttles. But you know what he did not do? The brash, headstrong cowboy hero Kirk did not abandon his ship and send the entire crew minus a few junior officers down to the planet. Because Kirk understood that while Spock, McCoy, Scotty, and the rest were valuable lives, his mission was more important. Kirk's mission, by the way, was to deliver some much-needed medical supplies to a colony that desperately needed them. There was no enemy threat, no immediate danger to the Federation as a whole. There was a single colony facing illness that could take lives. Compare that with Picard, who not only beamed down his entire crew, minus a bare minimum to keep the ship functioning, put the doctor with no command experience in charge, but did all this with the full knowledge that a vastly superior enemy ship was in the area and could attack at any time. This is about as dumb as a command choice as Picard could possibly make. Fuck you, Jerry Taylor. Fuck you too. Look, I know a lot of you think that The Next Generation is better than the original series, but I just can't see Kirk knowingly recklessly and incompetently, endangering the Enterprise and her crew like that. Yes, the acting was hammy. Yes, the dialogue was cheesy. But the characters were at least interesting and somewhat consistent. So now we have everyone who is qualified to handle an emergency on the planet. So they start to split up and search, and oh hey, I guess they did have rifles all along. I guess heavily armed just means something different in the 24th century, I guess. Geordi and Picard sit down and discuss how to possibly technobabble their way to finding Data. Picard thinks of using the phasers to create a pulse to beam a signal to the tricorders, while Geordi says that would likely fry Data's brain, and Troy stands up, looks, and sees the building that Data and Crosus went to. So, exactly how did the shuttlecraft miss this? So Picard, Troy, Geordi, and a rather nervous-looking security guard, yeah, he's gonna die, hike to the Honeycomb hideout. Oh, and by the way, if you're walking into a hazardous area likely full of enemy soldiers, just an FYI, let the guy with the rifle go first. They find an entrance, and in a brilliant move, Picard walks out in front while letting the guy with the rifle stay in the back so he can't, shoot anyone, I guess? Well, sure enough, a whole bunch of Borg come in and surround them. Yep, he knows what's coming. But he is not going to go down with a fight, except that he does. Yep, Ensign Dummy is now dead. Rest in peace, Ensign Dummy. Rest in peace. Well, because quantum, the Borg do not kill anybody else. Sure, why not? And then they're ordered to stop by Data. But it's not Data. It's his evil twin, Lore. Yes, because the whole evil twin thing is so cool. So Data comes out from behind the wall, proudly announcing that he has joined with Lore and that together they will destroy the Federation. Really? So you feed Data a little bit of emotion, and now he will willingly betray everyone he's ever cared about and plot to destroy the entire Federation? Well, I guess Troy was wrong about that whole negative emotions not being a bad thing, right? And then we get the to be continued card. At the end of this episode, I had a strange feeling. You see, at the end of Best of Both Worlds Part 1, I was really genuinely upset because I had to wait 3 whole months to find out what would happen next. This time, I was equally upset because I knew that in 3 months we would have to continue with this story, for lack of a better term. In the end, I'm going to give Descent Part 1 a 4 out of 10. While it's not a complete train wreck of an episode, nothing about it was good. At best, it was just okay. But now, we get to look forward to Part 2.
We are the Borg. Resistance is futile. You will lower your shields and click on the like button and leave a comment for the anti-tracker. If you have not before, you will hit the subscribe button and the notifications icon so that you can hear more from the anti-tracker. If you have suggestions on how to improve this channel, you will leave a comment in the comment section below. If you appreciate the work put into these videos, you will go to https://www.patreon.com/Michael J. Crawford, link below, and support this channel. Excuses are irrelevant. You will comply.